Hello, and congratulations on making what we believe is the best financial decision of your life. Now, call us biased, but one thing's for certain. The majority of the wealthy in this country either made their money in real estate or they hold their wealth in real estate. And Nouveau Riche is what many consider to be the premier educational company in the world of real estate investing. We've created the tools, the systems, education, and support to help our students not only succeed, but thrive as profitable investors. See, every day, students of Nouveau Riche are stepping forward to share their amazing success stories. Success that, in many cases, could hardly be fathomed even just a few short months ago. You see, it wasn't that long ago that they, too, were beginning their investing journey with the purchase of our Residential Real Estate Encyclopedia. They, just like you, made the decision to be a part of what is fast becoming the largest community of real estate investors in the country. And like you, they plunged into the education you are now partaking of. And with the support of their fellow investors in the Nouveau Riche community, guess what? They found the courage to take action. Action. It's an interesting word that many times is the difference between success or failure. As a part of each volume of the Nouveau Riche Residential Real Estate Encyclopedia, or R2E2 for short, you're going to learn about specific actions required to be a profitable investor. You see, we know that results follow activity. The trick is to engage in the right activity so that you produce the right results. Fortunately, you're going to have a great deal of help along the way. You'll have coaches, you'll have trainers, you'll have mentors, you'll have the R2E2 program, the Nouveau Riche College faculty, and the entire community to help assist you. So you may be in business for yourself, but as long as you stay plugged into this community, you will never be in business by yourself. Well, with that understanding, let's get started. I want to begin first with a caution. You may find yourself feeling maybe a little bit overwhelmed with all of the details of investing. I mean, please don't. Whether you're a part-time investor or a full-time investor, you're going to discover that investing in real estate is much like any new career or any new field. At first, it's a bit intimidating, maybe even a little overwhelming, but in time, it's like anything else you've started anew. Think of your current profession. I mean, first day on the job, was it a bit uncomfortable? Okay, how about 6 months later? Did you find that maybe after some time in the saddle, it was not only comfortable, but you became very competent in your new profession? Well then, you've already experienced the process at least once. Now it's time to do it in real estate. And we're going to help you. We're going to help you get past the learning curve so that you become comfortable, competent, and profitable. All you have to do is learn, improve, and take action on the education Nouveau Riche provides. It's a journey we'll take together. And here's our commitment. As long as you stay plugged into the Nouveau Riche community, continue to learn, grow, and master the techniques that we're going to share with you along the way, well, then we're never going to give up on you, and we'll continue to support you in achieving your goals as an investor. Here's our first lesson. Earn as you learn. Earn as you learn. It means get free of the idea that you're going to have to know it all before you can start. Now, it's obvious that there's a ton to learn, and we all fear making mistakes, but many times, you know what? That's the only way to truly understand the lesson. You're going to make mistakes along the way. It comes with the territory. Heck, how do you think most of our esteemed faculty moved from novice to pro? Many of them messed up repeatedly until they mastered certain areas of investing and became qualified to train others. It's because of their experience as investors that they can now help you avoid many of the big mistakes that they've made. The good news is that while you may have a few challenges along the way, we know from our experience how to steer you clear of many of the major pitfalls that can cost you time and profits. To do so, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to enlist the services of some of the foremost authorities in the country on the subject of wealth creation through real estate investing. Two of these individuals, well, they're in the studio with me right now. Now, I can tell you, they're both seasoned real estate investors, and as a part of our esteemed faculty at Nouveau Riche, you're going to love these guys. I mean, here's some of their history. They've got, to their credit, a lot of different successes and failures. And with that, that's established themselves as highly profitable investors and highly competent educators. Their names? Well, you got Tony Litster and Gavin McCaleb here. Hey guys, man, it's so great to have you in our workshop today because I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here. Thrilled because I know what an amazing resource the two of you are to all of our students across the country, and I trust that your contribution to this program is going to be huge for our listeners.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, thanks, Bob. We can't wait to share with our students the how-to of real estate investing. But before we do, I think it's only fair to shed a little light on your credentials. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Snyder is no newcomer to real estate or business. He's affectionately referred to as the General for his team leadership and time in the trenches. He's acknowledged as the international ambassador for Nouveau Riche. Bob's also a partner with the founders of Nouveau Riche and real market experts, Jim and Mary Piccolo. As a result of his continued success, he has trained thousands of individuals across the world how to be better investors. So, Bob, we're really the ones who feel honored to be in the studio with you.
Oh, you guys are amazing, man, and that's exactly how I wrote it. Thank you very much. I mean, you're awesome. No, I really appreciate that. I'm just thrilled to have you here. We're going to have a great day, and I'll tell you what, the educational experience that we're going to create for the individuals listening to this program will knock their socks off. It'll lay the foundation for the future and put some wonderful things together so that, they can go out and start investing with confidence.
So, Bob, where should we begin?
You know what? I think we probably ought to build off of the concept, earn while you learn. Earn while you learn so that our students get clear on the fact that you don't have to know it all before you start taking action. In other words, they shouldn't be paralyzed in fear because they don't have every answer to every possible question. Now, guys, I know that you've had some great thoughts on this subject. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your thoughts on this earn while you learn concept?
It's funny, Bob, when we started our real estate investment career, we didn't really have the option of not earning while we learned. We both went full-time real estate, had enough money for us to survive for about 4 months between the two of us, and really just had to go out there and get our feet wet. And basically the way I saw it and the way that we went forward is we got a little bit of knowledge and we went with that into the dark, and the next step made itself clear what needed to be done.
One of the things that is implied in the statement, earn while you learn, is that you need to take an action. You already stressed the importance of action, but sometimes when people get in learning mode, they are seeing themselves as a passive person in the process, only taking notes, learning the concepts, trying to get the whole overview, trying to learn everything before they begin. But if they realize that the action items can be taken one at a time, and by that I mean you learn enough to learn one action item, and then you take that one action, and then you learn more, and then you take another action, and so on down the process, you end up earning while you learn. If you wait to take action until you know everything, you're never going to do anything.
Well, you know what? That's a big challenge from a lot of our students, too. And I see them paralyzed by fear on a constant basis, thinking they got to know everything before they can get started. All that does is it pretty much creates a getting ready to get ready kind of a scenario. And there's no money in that.
No, there's not any money in that. I met two different real estate investors this summer, or people that consider themselves real estate investors, at different seminars that I was at. And each of them had spent over $50,000 in real estate education, and they were waiting to get the magic bullet or the secret to take that step to go out and purchase a property. And neither of them had ever purchased a property. They'd spent well over $50,000 each and were absolutely paralyzed because they didn't think they had all the answers that they needed.
On the flip side, I don't think it's wise for us to advocate a ready, shoot, aim attitude towards real estate where you go shooting from the hip without having any information. It's valuable to get high-level overviews and a concept of what you're trying to accomplish. But within that process that you're trying to accomplish a whole set of different tasks, you only need to know a few of the specific tasks, but you do need to know at a high-level generality where you want to be eventually. So there's value in learning some background before taking action. But by that same token, you need to be willing to and able to take small and measurable actions throughout the process.
You know what? That's exactly where we really want to take this next section here, because with that understanding, it's time to dive in to what to do in your real estate business so that you can start strong and then finish big. We want you to reach that checkered flag. And one of the most important aspects of investing is determining value. Determining value. We see all too often novice investors paying way too much for the wrong property and then having a near impossible time breaking even, let alone realizing the kind of profit that they're looking for. This is such a crucial part of our discussion today that I want to cover it in detail. So, gentlemen, let's dive right into it. The very first subject we want to talk about is how to determine the property value. How do you guys do it?
Bob, there's really no way to tell what a property's worth until someone buys it. And that's really how property value is determined, what somebody's willing to pay for it. Now, there's ways to back into that number and determine what other buyers in the market have paid. This was something that was really hard for Gavin and myself when we got started. We didn't have any friends that were realtors. We didn't have any real estate experience at all. We were both renting. And basically our first shot in the dark was to drive through neighborhoods and pull the flyers from houses that were for sale and kind of look at those prices. And we weren't even sophisticated enough to compare price per square foot of these houses. We just basically pull a flyer and say, well, a house in the neighborhood is for sale for 120. This one must be around 120. We never even compared if it was a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom. It was a disastrous way to gather value, but it gave us a ballpark.
And I think that's a good way to begin, just to get a feel for, if there's a lot of properties for sale in a certain neighborhood, maybe that's because they're not selling very quickly, and maybe you need to get even a better deal on that particular house. But in addition to driving around the neighborhood, there are ways such as pulling comps, which is kind of shorthand for comparable properties. And you usually use a realtor for that. You can call one up and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this house. Would you give me an idea of what it might be worth? And most times they'll be willing to help you out one or two times. If you call them every day or give them 30 properties to look up, maybe they won't be your best friend. But when you're just getting started and you tell them up front, hey, I'm just getting started, I think they'll be willing to give you a little bit to get started.
And comps that come off of the multiple listing service, which is what MLS is what the realtors call it, that, in my experience, and I think Gavin would agree, is probably the most accurate figure and the easiest way to pull a number of comparable sales to see what something is really worth. We have set up, and we'll talk a little bit later about our team, but there are ways to compensate a realtor for pulling these comps for you where, for instance, when we have a property for sale by owner, we'll have a number of people call on it that don't end up buying it. Obviously, only one person's going to buy it. We may have a list of 25 or 30 or maybe 100 people that have called. And we've worked out arrangements with realtors where they'll pull comps for us and we'll give them this list of interested buyers that then they can go and market and see if they can find a property for.
There's another way you can go about getting a ballpark value of a property, and that's to go down to the county records and look up the tax assessment. Now, in most areas, the tax assessment is going to be a little bit below the market value. And when we started, we figured that since we knew we had maybe anywhere from 3 to 10% below market value, if we were able to buy a property for less than the tax assessment, we knew we were probably going to be in a pretty good position. So even though it's not a very accurate spot-on valuation, it is a good ballpark, and especially if you, like I say, if you're trying to beat that assessment and get less than the assessment, in most cases you're going to be in a pretty good position.
And remember to take into account the condition of the property. We had a property that we purchased for $65,000 that had a tax assessment of $178,000. We ended up reselling it for about $105,000, but the tax assessment on that was not really a good determinant of what the value was really worth.
That's true. In determining either through comparable sales, through tax assessment, any of these methods of valuation, more than just the size and the location, as like what Tony was saying, is the needed repairs. If you get really good at figuring out what a house will sell for, that's only half the battle. You also need to get really good at estimating dollar amounts, specific dollar amounts for specific types of repairs. That way, when you do your valuation, you can figure that in and know if you're going to be in a good position on your sale price.
Another little pointer that would have been helpful to us early on in our investment career was to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. A single level house is going to have a certain value per square foot compared to a